Somewhere tonight, there's an avoidant sitting alone in a quiet room. Their phone is face up on the table. They're not texting you. They told themselves they don't need to. They've done this before. Let things end, felt nothing, moved on clean. That's who they are. That's what they do. But tonight feels different, and they don't know why. You were the one who finally stopped. You stopped reaching. You stopped explaining. You stopped making yourself smaller so they could feel comfortable staying distant. And now you're gone, really gone, and something inside them is behaving a way their whole personality was built to prevent. They miss you, not in a way they'll say, not in a way they'll show, but in the deepest, quietest, most private part of the night. It's there, and it's louder than anything they expected. You did everything right. You stayed calm when they went cold. You gave them space when they pulled away. You swallowed the words you want to say because you didn't want to push them further. And then one day, quietly, without any dramatic ending, they were just gone. Or maybe you were the one who finally left. Either way, the connection broke. And now you're wondering what happened on their side, whether they felt anything, whether any of it even mattered. What nobody talks about is what actually happens inside an avoidant the night they realize they've lost you, not the version they'd ever show you, not what they'd admit in a text or a conversation. The private version, the one that plays out alone in the dark, when there's no one left to perform distance for. Avoidants have spent years building a system designed to protect them from the exact feeling they are about to have. They are supposed to be fine with endings. They are supposed to feel relief when the pressure of closeness disappears. That's the story they've told themselves so many times it almost became true. But here's what breaks that story open. Losing you is different, and somewhere in the quiet of that night, they start to feel exactly why. They won't call. They won't text. They might not even let themselves sit with it for long before they reach for something to fill the silence. But in the moments before that, in the space between losing you and numbing it, something moves in them that they are not prepared for. Something that doesn't match the narrative they've built about who they are. If you've ever wondered whether walking away from avoidant actually reached them in ways their silence would never show, this video is your answer. Let's talk about 5 specific things an avoidant secretly feels the night they lose you. Feelings they will almost certainly never say out loud. Most people assume avoidants feel relief when a relationship ends. And on the surface, some part of them does. The pressure is gone. The demands have lifted. The intimacy that felt like slow suffocation has finally stopped. This is the part they show the world. This is the part even they believe, at first. But research on dismissive avoidant attachment tells a more complicated story. Avoidants don't lack attachment feelings. They suppress them. And suppression is not the same as absence. It is work, active, exhausting, unconscious work, which means the moment suppression stops being necessary, the moment you are truly gone and there is nothing left to defend against, those feelings don't disappear. They surface, and they surface hardest in private. At night, when the defenses are tired, they expected relief. They may have even told themselves they wanted this. But that night, the absence doesn't feel open. It feels hollow. The silence has a shape. It has your shape. The avoidant who has spent years convincing themselves that alone is safe finds themselves sitting inside a solitude that feels less like peace and more like the specific removal of one person. They won't name it grief. But the body knows the difference between chosen emptiness and the kind that was taken. Avoidants protect themselves through containment. Holding back words, pulling back warmth, never quite giving a response that would make you feel fully received. In the nights after losing you, those moments come back, not dramatically, quietly, a conversation where they could have said something real, and didn't, a moment where you reached toward them, and they stepped back, a version of themselves that almost showed up and chose not to. They don't experience this as guilt. Exactly. It's more like a slow realization that the wall they were so committed to building was also a wall between themselves and something they actually wanted. They just never let themselves want it loudly enough to keep it. This one is harder to name. The avoidant's greatest offense is remaining mysterious to others and to themselves. When you leave, you take something quietly threatening with you. The version of them you saw through some of it. You noticed things they never said out loud. You understood them in ways that scared them while it was happening. And now that understanding doesn't disappear. It just exists somewhere they can't reach or control anymore. The thought of someone walking away who actually knew them, not the performed version, but the real one, creates a vulnerability their entire system was designed to prevent. It will bother them in ways they cannot explain. If you ever felt like you understood them better than they understood themselves, and they still left, type, "I saw you" in the comments. That one's for you. Avoidants are not emotionally empty. They are emotionally defended, which means behind the distance, behind the non-commitment, behind the careful management of how close you were allowed to get, there was very often a quiet, private imagining of what things could have been. They didn't build it into something they'd ever show you, but it was there, a version of a future, with your presence in it. And the night they lose you, that future doesn't just end. It disappears without ever having been acknowledged out loud. There is no mourning ritual for something that was never officially held. And that particular grief, for a future they quietly wanted but never claimed, is one of the most disorienting feelings they will ever have. This is the deepest one, the one they will fight the hardest to suppress. Somewhere in the quiet of that night comes a thought they don't want. What if I didn't lose you by accident? What if the pushing, the cooling, the careful maintenance of just enough distance wasn't response to their needs, but a slow, unconscious dismantling of something they were afraid to keep? What if they sabotaged something real because real felt dangerous? That thought surfaces fast and gets buried faster. But in the seconds before it disappears, it tells them everything they would never say to you or anyone. Which of these 5 hit you the hardest? Drop the number in the comments. None of this is here to make you wait for an avoidant to have a revelation and return. Most of the time, they won't act on any of it. Not because they don't feel it, but because the same system that created these feelings will also be the first to bury them. What this is really about is something you deserve to know. You were not invisible to them. What existed between you was not one-sided. The silence was not indifference. It was an avoidant's most fluent language, spoken by someone who never learned to say the things that mattered out loud. Understanding that doesn't mean going back. It means leaving with clarity instead of question that tends to follow people the longest. Did I even matter? You did. They just never knew how to let that be enough to stay. If this landed somewhere real, leave a comment and just say, "I felt it too." No explanation needed. Just mark the moment. And if someone you know has been sitting with that question, did I matter? Send this to them right now. Sometimes the only thing missing is the language for what actually happened. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper. There's a lot more beneath the surface of avoidant attachment, and most of it, once you understand it, sets you completely free. I'll see you in the next one.